Good morning, friends, wherever you are. Welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee live stream. Hope you're having a cup of your favorite beverage wherever you are in the world. Somebody told me it's 3 a.m. Greg's Catfish Cave. Do you work a night shift, or are you just insomniac, or what's the deal here? 3 a.m. That's amazing. It is a pretty nice time of the day, though, isn't it? Very quiet. The air is clean. I love like 3 to 6 a.m. It's just kind of nice. Oh yeah. No, there is no liquor in my coffee. Stop thinking those thoughts. And we have a group that is rapidly growing here on the live stream. Let's see, Angelo and Ron and Wally's Fishwater Aquatics, Warren Venter, Sweet Polly. Hey, Sweet Polly. Denny. Hey, Denny. And I'm glad Iris is getting the aquarium bug. And welcome, Iris, to multiple tank syndrome. We'll see when she gets her second tank. Aussie. Craig's Catfish Cave. That's where it's 3 a.m. My God. Hey, Michael. Good to see you there, buddy. And let's see. Hey, Paul. Good to see you here on the chat. Hey, Whip. Whip is back, and it's a good day when Whip is on the chat. Good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing great. And I'm glad you made it. Ex-colleague Kev is with us. Good morning to you. Might not be able to stay long. Okay, that's fine, but you're here now, and you can always catch the replay later. I appreciate you. So today's topic should be interesting. It's a topic that is always popular. If I had to rank topics in popularity, probably, and maybe this is a sad comment on humanity, but disaster topics seem to pull maybe the most. My fish died. My aquarium exploded. You know, these kind of things very often are used as clickbait, and then you get down there and you find out that it's something else. But those topics seem to pull. Canister filters pull. Hang-on back filter topics pull. The setting up of those topics. Interestingly enough, videos on sump filtration don't seem to explode initially, but over the long haul tend to do really well. Like they'll pull maybe a couple thousand views initially, and then over a 2 to 3 year period, you check back and you go, wow, look at that, thing's at over 50,000 views. So it seems to be more of a research project on an as needed basis, as opposed to something very clickable initially. But at any rate, certainly nitrates has been a hot topic in the hobby for a while. And what motivated me to even get into it today gotta love coffee. What motivated me was the range of comments under that last video that I put out. I put out, of course, a video on low flow zones, creating low flow zones, and how that could possibly affect the parts per million of nitrates with anaerobic bacteria. And the range of comments under that video was amazing. From all the way from I'm doing that, and it's been very successful. I'm doing it currently. To that's impossible. You're over your head. You don't know what you're talking about. The science would contradict what you're saying, and so it was such a wide range of comments that I decided, okay, let's just turn it into an open discussion, since it's apparently so much fun. Let's go ahead and get into it. And more people are getting on here. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums in the house. Did I say hi to you, Beto? Beto Great Lakes, and of course Angelo, and I saw some more. George Fernandez, hey George, from Ontario, Canada. I don't want to talk about Canada today at all because of what happened last night with the Dodgers, and I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. Yes, I grew up 3 blocks from Dodger Stadium. I bleed blue, and even though my son works with the Red Sox, I am still a Dodger fan. Ismael Café con Leche es mi favorito, amigo. Bien fuerte, con un poquito de azúcar. All right. So, when I got the comment about zero nitrates being impossible in a freshwater system, I'm always open to ideas. And I'm also open to the idea that I might be wrong, that I might have gotten it entirely wrong, and maybe I am the village idiot. So I decided to go ahead and just do a little bit of a deep dive and look into it a little more. And I used some AI resources, but even AI can get things wrong. And one of my favorite YouTubers, Rick Beato, who is music related, not fish related, did a recent video on AI, asking AI for information, and he repeatedly got wrong information, proven wrong information. So AI is not entirely 100% reliable. Let's just be real clear about that. Now, what's even less reliable than that are YouTubers. YouTubers will provide false information, misinformation. And in the aquarium hobby, a lot of what you see, including from me, is anecdotal. And by that, what is meant is based on my personal experience, not based on controlled studies, right? With placebos and control groups and parallel tanks. And no, none of that. Based on my casual, anecdotal observations, I report back to you what I'm experiencing. And in my videos, I never alluded to the concept of zero nitrates. And I even said that I keep about 20 to 40 parts per million in the tank behind me. So, but it's been closer to the 20 recently. Water changes have stayed the same. Every other week I do about a 30 to 40%. In between those 2 weeks, I do a top off of the sump, a small amount of water. But it's been sort of staying a little bit more closer to the 20. And so I just started thinking, the wheels start turning. Okay, why would that be? And with everything else being relatively constant, and my conclusion was that I was developing low flow zones. Now, is there some type of a meter or a gauge or something I can push into the deep substrate or push into the middle of a sponge to tell me that I have anaerobic bacteria in there? Maybe there is. I'm not certainly going to go searching for one and buy one, but for me, it was the only thing that made sense. Now, that being said, there are a lot of moving parts in this aquarium behind me. There is Sarah Serponics, the right name on that? S-I-P-O-R-E-S, Siparax Media. There is Sarah, which is like rings, ceramic rings. I think Sarah gets offended if I call it ceramic rings because they do a lot more. They include a lot more in their media than just ceramics. But it's like a ceramic ring. There's some of that in there. There's the 4-inch thick, 12 or 14-inch tall sponges from Swiss Tropicals, right? Porate sponges, and there's also an algae scrubber. So, and a deep substrate. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that would contribute to the reduction and control of nitrates that go way beyond just the water change. So, but somebody got on and commented that zero was impossible in a freshwater system without a lot of expensive, probably denitrification equipment, I imagine they're referring to. And so I went in and I asked ChatGPT, and I just said, okay, look, is zero nitrates possible in a well-stocked freshwater aquarium? And if so, how would one go about getting zero nitrates? And of course, ChatGPT always answers, that's an excellent question. Doesn't matter what you ask. That's an excellent question. And says one that even experienced hobbyist debate. All right, short answer. This is the short answer it gave me. It is possible to maintain zero or near zero nitrates in a well-stocked freshwater aquarium, but it's very difficult and usually not sustainable without special systems in place. You can get very close, under 5 parts per million, and that was kind of like the gold standard 10 years ago. If you were somewhere in the 5 parts per million range, you were like in the gold standard of fish keepers. Back in the day when there was a lot of chatter about the dangers of nitrate, which I think has calmed down a lot in light of more recent developments and research that show that fish can actually thrive in much higher parts per million. But it said through natural or engineered nitrate removal processes, but hitting true zero and keeping it there long term typically requires a denitrification system or a heavy plant and algae assimilation. So, bottom line, nitrates in the aquarium, some nitrates in the aquarium, are an indication that actually there is a nitrogen cycle occurring, especially with near zero ammonia. And now there's always going to be some ammonia in your aquarium. And there's also going to be some nitrite. Is it detectable? Or is it being consumed by the bacteria so that it's negligible and of no impact on your fish? That's really what we shoot for, right? I mean, because it's being produced all the time, right? It's coming out of those fish all the time. So, and it depends on your stocking level, your feeding, the waste production, things of this nature, right? Your maintenance schedule, all these factors will determine, do I have nitrates at all? But there's always going to be some. So nitrates are a good sign in an aquarium. It tells you, okay, things are going on. Also, if you have, and I've heard this from people that have heavily planted tanks, they get to a point where the plants start to die back because they've done such a great job with their plants of reducing nitrates that the plants start to starve. What they've reduced, actually, I believe, is ammonia, since plants prefer ammonia as their first source for nutrients. So, of course, and that results in near zero nitrates, right? So, here's methods for zero nitrates as served up by our friends at ChatGPT. And as I go through this, if you have questions, start your questions with ben.o.ciclid so that I notice them, and I'll check on the chat from time to time. It says here that plants consume nitrates directly for growth. The most effective setups, fast-growing stem plants. So this, of course, unless you're going to do it in the sun, is almost impossible in an African cichlid tank, since they are plant destroyers. I'm looking right at my planted community, and I'm sure that that tank, if I didn't do a water change for a month, would probably be okay. I'd probably get more plant growth, right? So fast growing stem plants. Now, hornwort, water sprite, hygrophila. So there are certain plants that are super fast growing, and because of that, they are super ammonia and by extension nitrate absorbers, right? I've got a section of hornwort right in the middle of that planted aquarium. I dropped some into the hospital tank where I have my new apisto that I might have shown you, and it also talks about floating plants, because floating plants, and hornwort can be a floating plant, but floating plants, because they're so close to the light that and if you're running your lights for a relatively good period of time during the day, they're going to really grow and absorb a lot. And they're talking, of course, duckweed, water lettuce, Amazon frogbit, and things like that. And they are real massive consumers. Now, in a cichlid tank like the one behind me, I could put some hornwort. There's no reason why I couldn't put a big handful of hornwort in the sump. I would just need to run a light. I mean, do I want to run a light over the sump for a certain number of hours a day? Yeah. I mean, the only impact maybe a little bit of algae, but maybe some power consumption, right? A little more power consumption. But I could run a light over the sump and throw some hornwort in there. That could help. It also says rooted plants with a nutrient-rich substrate to fuel steady nitrate uptake is also desirable in an aquarium where you can have those kind of plants. Its conclusion, a densely planted tank with fast-growing plants and strong lighting. And if you can add CO2, can reach undetectable nitrate levels of 1 to 2 parts per million as the plants outcompete the biofilter. So you end up basically with your plants being your big nitrate reducer. Now, even if I had that situation, and I've gotten into this discussion with some of the dirted tank folks who mock me because I do water changes, but I would probably still continue to do some water changes, because over time the minerals that are floating in your aquarium tend to settle. I understand that over time they settle or become exhausted, and so you can remineralize, which is important for your fish, with small water changes, 20%, 10%, something like that, if you had a really heavily planted tank. Another thing that they talk about are algae scrubbers. Now, algae scrubbers are not something most of you are going to get into. They're a little bit cost prohibitive. They're expensive. You can DIY. Joey, the king of DIY, has some good videos, I believe, on how to make a homemade algae scrubber. And I've got an algae scrubber in this one behind me. I'll show you the algae scrubber. Hold on. There's a light that goes with it that I don't know if you can see the light, but it's the perfect frequency to promote algae growth. Here, bear with me. I'll pull it out. This is in the sump, and see if I can show it to you without tipping a lot of water. You can see all the algae that's growing in there. And then once every few weeks, you go ahead and you clean that algae out of there. You just scrub it out, and that does what's called, it exports the nutrients, right? You can take that algae, you can feed it. If you have a tank of plecos, you can drop that algae in a pleco tank. They'll eat it. You can even drop the entire algae scrubber in an aquarium with fish that like algae, and they'll actually clean it up for you. I used to do that in California. I had fish that loved algae. I would just open up the algae scrubber in the aquarium, and I had it on the side wall of the aquarium, and the fish would just peck at it until it was pretty much clean. I didn't have really much scrubbing left to do. But that is consuming, it's doing a lot of good stuff, right? It's consuming the nitrates, it's consuming ammonia, it's releasing oxygen, right? And in some saltwater setups, they'll have very large algae scrubbers. So that's one thing you can do. It also talked about in the chat GPT, it talked about deep sand bed or anaerobic zones, which was the whole like the whole gist of that video. It wasn't really to create zero nitrates. It was really the creation of low flow zones, anaerobic zones. And let me pull this up here. All right. So it says use a deep substrate layer of 4 to 6 inches of fine sand or special denitrifying media. The deeper layers become oxygen poor, allowing anaerobic bacteria to thrive. This is a delicate process, and it says you have to watch out because of what are called hydrogen sulfide pockets that might form. Now, I have not had any problem with that whatsoever. You leave that substrate pretty much undisturbed. You vacuum the top, half inch of it at the most, if ever, or you just have it, like in my case, like a power head or wave maker that sweeps the top of the substrate, moving the waste toward the filters, right? On a timer, so that the fish aren't being blown around all day. I have powerful wave makers that run for several hours at a time, and then they shut off. And they're shut off at night when the fish are sleeping, right? When it's dark. I haven't had any problem with hydrogen sulfide. And one way to also further guarantee or safeguard against problems with hydrogen sulfide is to have a very well oxygenated aquarium. So if you're disturbing the substrate, let's say you have a deep substrate, don't turn off your bubblers or stop breaking up the surface during maintenance, for example. If you can, like I do, leave your canisters on and splashing into the aquarium. I leave my hang-on backs on. I keep that oxygen content very high, and what that does is it offsets, if a little bit of that hydrogen sulfide were to get into the aquarium, it would offset it. A low oxygen aquarium with a hydrogen sulfide could pocket bubbling into the aquarium and oxidizing could actually be harmful to your fish, but you'd have to have a very low oxygen setup. So then we get into more of the obvious side of it, which is frequent water changes and low bioload. Like if I did frequent water changes on that planted tank that I'm looking at right now, I would probably be around 5 parts per million. I'm not even sure what I'm at right now, but I'd probably be around 5 parts per million because I got so much plant life in there thriving, and including hornwort, right? Including very, very nitrate consuming plants, fast growing plants. So that's the most obvious one. Okay, look, if your goal in life is a zero nitrate tank, feed less, stock less, get a planted tank, run a deep substrate, and you're going to probably end up as close to zero as you possibly can in a freshwater aquarium. But is zero possible? Is zero even desirable? I don't think so. I mean, maybe someone out there thinks, well, you got to have zero so that these fish will breed. Maybe there's some kind of a breeding project somewhere that seems to get better success when nitrates are near zero. That's possible. That might exist out there. I don't necessarily think it's even necessarily a goal that we should concern ourselves with. I mean, this tank behind me, before some of these recent observations I've made took hold, would get up as high as 80 parts per million. I didn't really see a difference in the fish. I saw a bigger difference in the fish when I increased the KH and pH, which occurred recently. And again, that's another video one of the moderators can share. But when I spotted that I was running with a bit low KH, and was causing perhaps some pH shifts, and my pH was in my opinion, a bit too low. And I went ahead and added the products from Fritz, right? The buffers. And I noticed a change. I noticed, in my opinion, which maybe didn't come across the camera, but in my opinion, better color, calmer fish, better color, very active, I dare say even a little more peaceful. Now, I hate to even say peaceful when I'm on live stream because that's usually when a fish gets killed, but don't want to jinx it. All right. So those are some of the obvious ones. So the conclusion of the AI research that a zero nitrate is possible, difficult but achievable with strong plant growth or anaerobic filtration. Best nitrate range for most tanks, 5 to 20 parts per million. Completely sterile zero systems can actually lack nutrients for plants. And anyway, what's been your experience on this topic? We can open this up to discussion. And let me take a look at the chat here. What you've been doing. If you hit me with a super chat, I haven't seen it. I actually had the chat part covered up with my phone to read the GPT report there. But let's see here. Beto, great. Yo hablo español, Beto. Soy puertorriqueño. Mi primera lengua fue español. So, just setting Beto straight here on. Now, I wish I could practice my Spanish more. I spoke Spanish at home, of course, growing up, mom and grandma, but they've been gone for a while, and so I just don't use it. I use it probably more with you guys than I do with anybody. Let's see. Dan Ingalls came in. Crazy news, everyone. I just got an apprenticeship at an acrylic tank building company to start learning to build them from the ground up to the installation process. I am so ready. Wow. Good for you, Dan. Always be learning. That's very cool. Congratulations. I hope that turns into an exciting journey for you. That is amazing. Ismael, if you try a sump, you will never go back. I have a playlist called, I think it's Sump, the King of Filtration. Take a look at that playlist and watch the more recent videos. It's going to take a lot of the anxiety out of it. You don't have to worry about flooding. Just there are ways to set it up right. Unfortunately, there are a lot of ways to set it up wrong. But take a look at that playlist, and you can start it from the beginning if you want to suffer through my learning process with me. I went through a lot of ups and downs, but I finally got my wits around sumps to some degree with the help of all of you, in particular Denny. Denny, who's on the live stream with Iris. Well, Whip, I think you hit the nail on the head, my friend. And that was the response that I gave to the scientist. I said at the end of the day, we have to, take everything we hear with a big grain of salt from everyone, including me, and then come to our own conclusions based on our own observations. And really kind of go with that. I mean, it's but yeah, there is a lot of but I'll tell you, the second I hear, especially in light of what we've all been through, back starting in the early 20s, 2022 on, and what we all went through, whenever I hear the science in this matter is settled, I immediately become extremely skeptical. So I go, wait a minute, why are you trying to stop me from continuing to go down that rabbit hole? Why don't you want me to look any further? Yeah. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theory. Tell me that if you want me to look into an area deeper, tell me the science is settled in that area, and I'll go immediately. I go, oh, really? Well, first of all, at that moment, I stop believing you, because science is always an evolving topic. Anyway. It looks like Dan jumped in. He's been running a deep sandstrate, a deep substrate as of late with basic HOB filters and air stones for basic circulation, and it's heavily planted. You're not going to have much of a problem, my friend, with nitrates. It's probably a non-issue for you. Is it dirted? Do you have dirt in there as well? Kind of like father fish and... Hello, Maverick. Maverick01, hi to you. And that seems to be the case with a lot of us, Whip. When we're setting up the aquarium, we test often. But I tell you, it was really good that I just did a random test on this tank behind me, which allowed me to discover that the pH had shifted downward, the KH was low. So, it's not a bad idea to occasionally whip out that test kit and then take the necessary steps if needed. Ismael, my 10-inch red devil likes digging. You are not going to be able probably to keep planted tanks, Ismael. You've got a digger. You've got a redecorator. The back of my 300-gallon behind me is bare bottom. Bare bottom because of all the digging that the fish do. Well, it looks like George is growing pothos with the roots in the water and plant above water hanging in the entire back of a 7-foot tank stocked with frontosas. They never touch the roots. Interesting. You know, I always wondered if they would eat the roots, but you're saying they don't. That's good. I mean, those frontosas will those pothos will definitely pull nutrients out of that water. Afternoon to you, Benny Mac. Got people using lilies. I am looking at the chat right now. Hey, Simon. Never bother with nitrate, especially in koi keeping. Even with my South and Central, is that South American tank? Cichlid tank. It's the end process, and if your setup filtration is working and mature, not really going to become an issue. Now, my question, Simon, is are you doing water changes? If so, how often? How much? If you don't mind sharing. We all learn from each other here. Whip, are you having to moderate some language? Keeping it family friendly? Hey, Paul, Inventory King in the house. Nice to see you, my friend. Check out Inventory King if you want to see some beautiful saltwater fish. I'm assuming, Paul, you still have those beautiful saltwater and coral setups and probably the most amazing plumbing job I've ever seen in my life. Paul Newman, yes, Mabuna love the algae. Naturally, I had, if you remember, my tanks back in California, I had clown loaches, and the clown loaches would lose their minds over the algae. Naturally, the plecos would. They'd get on that algae and wouldn't stop. But also, believe it or not, I had a Benga sunshine, right? A peacock. And that Benga sunshine would not move until all that algae was gone. He would just keep packing and packing and packing. Obviously, there was something in there he loved. Yeah, Dan, that could be a rule of thumb. If you have a deep substrate, don't mess with it. Not beyond a ½ inch. Ben, should one only do water changes when the nitrates are high? Now, this is something that I talked about in that video I've been alluding to, the low flow zone video. I do water changes for reasons that go beyond nitrate reduction, right? I like to remineralize. It's one of the main reasons, right? I feel it brightens up, right? It removes particulates. I mean, there's various reasons why I do water changes beyond nitrates. So certainly, if they're high, why not? But I just do it routinely every other week as a freshening up. With my discus, because they run at a very high temp, they have a very high metabolism. I feed them a lot because of that. And so I give them 1 or 2 water changes a week just to freshen things up and remove, waste, because they are being fed more because they run at a higher metabolism. So Simon says 0 in nitrates is not healthy. Interesting. I wonder if we go to a local lake, let's say we go to a local lake or a local stream or river that looks relatively clean and took our test kit with us, what would we find? That might be a good topic for a video. I'll go out to the one of my local streams here in Nashville and just do a test and see what do we got in nature. Do we have nitrates there? Are there some, or are they pretty much getting eaten up by all the algae and oxygen that's going on? All right. Ex-Cali Cab coming to Nashville for a haunted house. Oh. You got to stay young, Ex-Cali Cab. You got to stay young. Why not? And Dan says that 2 of his fish have the father fish soil, and the other 2 are dirt and fluval stratum. So far, so good. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I'm not an anti-dirted tank. I extend them respect and courtesy, and I like what I see, in some of those tanks. Unfortunately, some of the folks from that camp go after the non-dirted, I've noticed, but I think that's passing. Maybe that's calming down. We'll see. I hope. It doesn't help the hobby to have, arguing factions. M&C Aquatics, my Dovey dug like a bulldozer. Do you remember that that red tear that I got from Whip that I unfortunately ended up rehoming because he wouldn't play nice? He used to completely move all the substrate from the back of a 55-gallon and create this wall in the front where he could almost hide behind. I mean, it was amazing. And yeah, he was like a front loader. It was amazing. Whip's World says that silver dollars will eat the pothos roots. Well, so much for using it in my 210-gallon, right? Craig's Catfish Cave, Whip. I rescued some dollars. I guess some silver dollars, right? Woke up next morning. They ate like $500 worth of amazing. I got off cheap. I did an Anubias after listening to a video on YouTube from some respected YouTubers that I still respect. But they suggested that I use Anubias in an African cichlid tank because it was bitter. Unfortunately, fish are a lot like Dory. If you remember Dory in Finding Nemo, they have no memory at all. And they'll bite a plant and go, ugh, spit it out, and then look and go, hey, something green, let me bite it. Ugh, that tastes terrible. Spit it out. Oh, look, something green. So, yeah. Mine was $100. My experiment was $100. And I lost some beautiful, beautiful Anubias. I haven't found anybody here in Nashville that sells Anubias like this shop I used to have next to me in Arcadia, California. Actually, it was Pasadena. He was called Pasadena Tropical PT something. Now, hold on, Paul. I never said I like doing testing. And I know, especially when you keep corals, like you do, the parameters are vital. And if they go off, they can be very expensive. So, no. Not sure if I'll, even though I will say, look, it's on my bucket list. Someday I would love to have some beautiful corals and a few beautiful saltwater fish. I think it would be just a fun experiment. I was watching KG Tropical's live stream. It looks like Jon has shut down his saltwater tank. So I wouldn't want to go into it and dabble. And I mean, I kind of did that a little bit with guppies, a little bit with live bears, a little bit with betta. You go in, you kind of go a little while, you just abandon it, you know. But I don't want to dabble in it, but it's on the bucket list. Someday. Maybe I'll reach out to you for some advice. Ron, I had a pond tank years ago with largemouth bass, a pickerel, not familiar with that one, a yellow perch, kept a half a dozen American eels. I would use the eels for striped bass bait. Wow. I mean, some people have like, tubs of earthworms. You were using actual live fish, sort of a bait tank. I mean, I'd want to fish in your pond. I'd want. Mr. Sophisticated in the house. Chana fish. Don't even know what a chana fish is. I have not tried those. Dan, yeah, if anybody wants to see Dan's deep substrate, check it out. He's got some shorts. I'm still looking here at the chat. Fatherfish, what is this? Someone's commenting on Simon Shears. Fatherfish swears by his process. I've never tried, but I do have deep sand bed, 4 inches. But my female green terror loves moving. Oh yeah, you're deep. You're not going to have any sulfur issues. No pockets will form when you have a red tear. GP in the house. Hey, Govinder, good to see you, my friend. No need to apologize, GP. We're just glad you're here. All right. Any other questions for me? Mr. Sophisticated, snakehead? That's your question, snakehead? If I could have a snakehead, I'd have a snakehead. Those fish are insane, from the way they're colored and shaped to the way they move. Absolutely beautiful. Classified as invasive and not allowed here in the States. I saw a fire eel the other day, and I kid you not, the fire eel was 4 feet long, maybe 5-6 inches or more, maybe 8 inches thick. Made me really rethink the idea of having an eel in my aquariums. Massive, absolutely massive. Oh, the China fish is a snakehead. I get what you're saying now. Northeast India. Yeah, I would love to have one of those. I've seen some in blues, reds, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But that's a fish kind of like that, kind of like a red arowana. I mean, you're probably never gonna see it here in the U.S. All right. So, what topic would you folks like to see coming up? Give me some topic ideas, and I need a topic for this weekend's video. The last two videos, the last video and the last short, I mean, of course, talking about nitrates, right? They did pretty well. And hey, Kim and Carl, jumping on. Good morning to you. What would be a topic that you would be interested in regarding fish keeping? Let me know in the chat, and I will consider your topic either on the here in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, comment under the video. The replays, of course, have a lot of commercials until I get in there and clean them out. But if you watch the replay and comment a topic, and I like it, and I use it, maybe I'll send you some fish food. Some North Fin fish food. How does that sound? All right, so give me some topics and let me know which one you think I should pursue. While you're doing that, I'll show you a few of the tanks. I'm going to be doing some cleanup here, but let's take a look at some of the tanks. Of course, you see the one behind me. This is called the fish cam. Fish behind me. Let me swing the camera around. Actually, we'll just go with the regular view. Let's take a look at the 90 gallon with the redhead Tapajos, starry night, red spotted gold severum, green tear, electric blue acara. Here we go. A couple of those redhead Tapajos are starting to look a lot like Surimanensis. A couple of them have great trailers, thread fins showing up. Those Congo tetras, the males love chasing each other. There's the starry night right in the middle. Looking good, eating really well. Really excited about watching that fish develop. I hope 3's my lucky number. I've tried that fish several times and not been lucky. But as you can see, the 90 gallon is looking good. The plant on the left, the artificial plant on the left, was swapped out recently. And the one that was there is undergoing a chlorine treatment. Look at the substrate in that tank. That's a deep substrate with a lot of good gunk at the bottom. And the geos do all the cleaning that I need on that substrate. That tank is never vacuumed. The geos turn it over, and the filters clean it up. Let's take a look at the planted community. Here's my little jungle. As you can see, it's thriving. That little apistogramma in there is loving life. The empire gudgeons are doing well, developing. Got a little night goby in there. Everybody else seems to be happy. Little neons. I'm going to be adding around 10, about 10 neons, cardinal tetras. I also have some celestial danios that are going to be added. They're all in quarantine right now. And of course, I've got one more, a pisto, that's going to be added to that tank as a centerpiece fish. Let's look at the discus. All 10 of the discus are doing well. Floating around, waiting to be fed. I feed them after the stream. But as you can see, they're calm, happy, and healthy. A few plants that have survived the high temperatures are doing okay. They do have to be wiped down. There still is some black algae in that aquarium. But I think I'm winning the battle. I think it might be related to the high temps. Keeping it at about, it's currently at about 82.8. So I tend to keep it right around 83 degrees. Let's take a peek at the 210-gallon South and Central American tank. See, those big boys are doing great. And again, they're waiting to be fed. You can see the Oscar, the large tiger, red tiger on the left there. Huge vieja. Vieja's gotten as big or bigger than that red tiger. Little albino Oscar doesn't grow much. You can see my silver dollars in there. I can get more of them to come up to the front if they think I'm going to feed them up. There comes Sally the Salvini. Up, going after the albino Oscar. Let's get ready to rumble. Okay, let's see if they'll come, if they'll all come to the front. If they think they're going to be fed. There's a beautiful firemouth in there. There's Jackie Dempsey. You don't see Jackie Dempsey too often. It's a red shoulder in the back. Maybe you can make her out. And there's the firemouth on the left side there, up moving towards the middle, pretending to be a silver dollar. I love the chocolates. They have a forehead like a beluga whale. Oh, there's the Nicaragua. You hardly ever see the female Nicaragua. She's usually in her cave. All right, let's spin this camera around. Hold on. I don't want you to get dizzy. So you got a full lap of the aquarium, full lap of the aquarium fish room. The only fish you didn't see are the ones that are currently in quarantine or in hospital tanks. And those are waiting before I can put them into the main tank. And that's really just the celestial danios, the cardinal tetras, the apisto. And those will be ready probably in 2 weeks to add to the planted. I'm also going to be putting in an order with my friend Fritz over at Beantown Aquatics down in Texas. I'm going to be picking up some more African cichlids. I really miss having a Kawingi. I'm going to try a Linny again, and fingers crossed. It's going to be expensive, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. So at any rate, I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and today's live stream. And Ron, did you see the Salvini? She's doing great. She is just an amazing, one of my favorite, really long-term fish. So, big puppy dogs, yes, that's right. Paul 165. The Oscars especially are big puppy dogs. So, at any rate, thank you so much for watching, everybody. You are really appreciated. Thank you to all my wonderful moderators for keeping it all family-friendly. And I think with all that being said, we're on the hour, and we'll go ahead and let you go enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend. Root for the Dodgers. And I will see you this coming Saturday. There will be another live stream. And let me know. I'm going to look at the chat after I end off and see if any topics that you suggested indicate, and I will go ahead and see if I can pursue one of those. And it looks like somebody just hit me with a super chat. What the heck is happening? And right when I say I'm going to sign off, I think you're paying me to go away. Is that? Thank you, Whip. You didn't have to do that, buddy. You helped me out in a lot of ways. But thank you so much for that super chat. Very, very appreciated. And if I missed any other ones, I just wasn't looking at the chat. Let me see here. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And with that being said, we're going to play a little bit of jazz in a screen that I end up adding links to after the video posts up at YouTube, and that's what they call the end screen in YouTube language. So here it is. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you next week. You are the best, and I appreciate you a lot.